exciting edition of Strides. My name is Onem. It's good to have you with us today. This is 2015, and I know that a lot of you have made New Year resolutions. For some of you, those New Year resolutions might be wanting to buy or sell a house. Buying or selling a house can be a very daunting task because there are questions you need to ask yourself. What kind of house do I buy? Do I want a single? Do I want a detached, a semi-detached? How do I want the layout to be? These are questions that can be answered by a realtor. They're experts in the field, and I have one with me today who will be able to answer questions based on how or what to consider when you want to buy or sell a house. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Yemi Aladesua. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So good to have you.
Thank you.
So we're just going to jump right into it. We want to ask, what are the 5 top things to consider when you want to buy a house or sell a house?
Okay, like you rightly mentioned, you want to consider, number one, what type of property will be suitable for my needs? Is it detached? Is it semi-detached? Is it a freehold property or a condominium? And based on maybe the number or your family size, another important thing would be the location. Where will you like this property to be located? What city will you like to live in? What is important for you in making this decisions? Does it have to be with the schooling of your kids? Are they in elementary schools? Are they in high school? Does it have to be close to your place of employment or to your place of business? And as well, of course, a major consideration as well is what can you afford? What is your family income and how much of these can you afford in monthly payments for towards your mortgage? So these are all the very important things that you need to consider before you finally decide on what property to buy or where you want to live.
Oh, that's wonderful. Those are very good points. And I just want you to walk us through, like, from the inception to when you finally move into the house. What are the steps? Like, what do you have to do from the beginning until you finally get to move in?
Okay. So the starting point in the purchase of real estate is actually the affordability. As I mentioned, real estate is one of the biggest investment that any individual can ever, it's like the biggest investment of a lifetime actually. The prices are not, really that cheap. So you really need to put a lot of thoughts and consideration into this. And here we need, you need a mortgage. A mortgage is really the bank giving you some loan towards the purchase of your property, and of course the expectation is that you put down a portion of this property amount by way of a down payment. So the 2 key things that the banks would like you to they like to assess you for before they approve of you is, number one, your affordability. How much of a mortgage payment can you afford based on your income? Then the second important consideration that they will look into is your credit worthiness. If they give you this loan of maybe 500,000 or whatever amount it might be, how can they trust you enough to be able to pay this amount? And the one thing they use in making this decision is your credit score. And pretty much a credit score, you see, anytime you have a credit card or you have your utilities, the way you pay and your pattern of payment, your payments behavior is being measured through some agencies out there. And every of these is generating a score, that is telling us how credit worthy you are. So it's very important, if you're hoping to buy the biggest investment of your lifetime, which is your real estate, to ensure that you build good credit score. And this can easily be done by ensuring that whatever loan you have in a credit card or a utility, you pay them by the due date. Once this is done, the bank will know that if you're faithful in $1,000 repayment, then they can trust you with $1 million, that is a behavior. So those are the 2 key things. The bank is going to assess you. So back to our question, the starting point is actually for you to get your mortgage pre-approval. So you go to your bank, they will check your profile, your credit score, your income and all of that. And based on this, they will advise you that this is the amount of loan we're able to give to you. So once this is all clear, then you come to somebody like me as a realtor, and you're going to discuss the type of property you're interested in. Is it a detached? Is it a semi-detached? Is it a townhouse? Is it a condo apartment? Where do you want this property? What is the amount you're willing to commit to this property? And all of these questions will help me in guiding me to select possible properties for you. And I'll go into a database and pull out potential properties that will probably suit your criteria. And we're going to schedule an appointment. We'll go and actually drive through these properties to check them out in person. And while we're checking out, you're checking out the layout. You're checking out, what does this property offer? How about the ambience of the neighborhood? Does this look like the neighborhood you like to live in? And in checking these, we're looking at the environment, bigger picture. What is this environment going to look like in another 3-4 years, as an example? Is there a vacant property that is close to the property you're interested in? As a realtor, I'm going to investigate why this parcel of land vacant. And this might mean a call to the municipal government to ask about what is the future plan for this vacant property, for instance. And they might tell us that in another 5 years, we're hoping to put a park here. Or in another 5 years, we're hoping a shopping mall is going to be in this neighborhood. Then if this is not the environment you really like to live in, that might call for a reassessment to say, you know what, we're going to a different neighborhood. So we're going to check it out. And after we've done all of this due diligence, we'll put in a request, which is called a purchase agreement, an offer to the seller. And the offer is really by the way by which we negotiate, the price and maybe the closing dates and all the other associated terms of purchasing this property. And before we do this, in Canadian real estate, and it's driven by the market. And in doing this as a realtor, I will do the comparable market analysis of this property to make sure that you do not pay more for this property than it is actually worth, in today's market. And after negotiating back and forth, then we're going to, hopefully have a firm agreement. And with this firm agreement, you go back to the bank, who has already pre-approved you, and you tell them this is the property I'm finally interested in purchasing. And of course, with the seller, we will have made it a conditional, agreement to say, give us 5 days to firm up our mortgage, give us 5 days to check out with the home inspector that this property is okay. And of course, having taken it to the bank will do their due diligence as well to be sure this is where they want to commit their money into. And hopefully, if they are happy with that property, they'll give the final approval. We'll get an home inspector involved, and the home inspector will check the structural integrity to make sure that everything is okay with the house. There is no history of water damage. There are no mold problems. There are no problems that maybe as soon as you move in, you have to commit so much money into repairs. So that is very important. And once we are happy with the home inspection report, then we go back to the seller and firm up the offer. After this, we send it to a lawyer. So the lawyer is the in between you and the bank. So the bank and the lawyer, they will finalize the process. They will check all of the legal implications and ensure that you meet all of the legal requirements to transfer the ownership from the current seller to you. And they also insure this property to be sure that nobody will wake up tomorrow and say your property is now theirs, that sort of a thing. So once the lawyer has done their piece of the work, then come the day of closing, you're gonna, the bank will pay your lawyer to the seller, and of course the lawyer will collect the key on your behalf, and there and then you're a happy homeowner and you can go in and start enjoying the comfort of your new home.
That's wonderful. I mean, it sounds like such a long process. That's why you need, the help of an expert. And so to be able to entrust this expert, you need to be sure that they're able to do the job. Am I correct? So what are the things to look out for in a realtor?
Yeah, and actually before you can become a realtor, it is a professional designation, and we do have our code of ethics, which is out there to protect you, the consumer, and as well to inform and to guide our practice. So I will expect you to please shop out for one that is knowledgeable, one that knows exactly what he or she is doing, one that will function within the professional requirements of a realtor. And essentially we're trained to look out for your good, to make sure that whatever we're going to, guide you into buying is really what you're going to like. It's all about you. You're the one paying for this. So I need to be able to work with you to make sure that I get you the property that you like within your budget, and to be sure that it's something that you're really going to, And of course there are, different kind of ethics, that should inform the way I relate with you. Confidentiality is a key thing. I don't want to be out there telling probably your friends, depending on, the circular plan which you're functioning, broadcasting your affair to everybody. That is not, that is not professional of me. And of course, in doing this, I need to be knowledgeable about, the process and about the neighborhood, and to guide you in accordance. Because buying a property about the future, in another 5 years, let's see, offer, hoping that the economy will remain as strong and as vibrant as it's always been. So as a realtor, I'm using that lens as well, to look at this piece of property to say, hey, is this something that in another 5 years you can sell and make good equity, If it is a no, then I hold you the responsibility to mention it, to point it out to you. If there's something I thought would be detrimental, to you acquiring this property, or something that will give you problem down the road, I need to make this disclosure upfront, so that if you still choose to go ahead, at least you're informed about, whatever the situation is. So you need to really look out for such realtor that will put your interests at heart. And as well, when you're working with your realtor, like I said, it's the biggest investment of a lifetime. So you need to give yourself time. There is no pressure. Give yourself time. And in giving yourself time, I'm not saying it should take you 3 years or 2 years to purchase a property. That's not what I'm talking about. In real estate, you buy to wait. You don't wait to buy.
I know that you mentioned that credit score and income is two of the things that the bank usually insists on before they can give you a mortgage. But for a lot of immigrants, especially for African immigrants, when they come into the country newly, they don't have any credit score because they've not had the time to build it. And so what would you advise in terms of how they can get houses if they decide that they want to buy houses immediately they come into the country?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. Actually, some banks have products now for newcomers, new immigrants, and essentially they're using a different criteria to assess them. And one of the criteria is they know you're new in the country and you may not have a job right away, or you don't have a credit score, but the truth is immigrants do come in with lots of money. So they expect you, if you can meet, maybe put down 20 or 25% or even 35% in some instances, they're willing to, give you the mortgage. Because by the time you put down 35% on a property, the monthly payment is as good as you pay rent. So the banks are figuring this out. So please, do not hesitate. If you come in and you have some good equity, go to your bank, CIBC, TD, and a lot of other banks, they offer this package. Go and talk to them, get a realtor to work with you, and you can buy your property right away.
That's wonderful advice, because I know that some of our viewers, you might be recent immigrants into the country, so that's also something to consider if you feel like you want to get a house right now. And I mean, work with a very knowledgeable realtor, as we've talked about today as well. But I wanted to ask, some people are in the business of flipping houses. I don't know how lucrative it is right now. So what is your professional advice concerning flipping houses? For those who don't know, flipping houses means you get maybe a sort of a rundown property, and then you renovate it, and then you're able to sell it to make some profit. So what's your professional advice on that?
Again, it's about making profit. So if you know, your stuff, some people are very handy. They can pick a rundown property, fix it really good, contribute to what we call sweat equity, labor into it, and by so doing they're able to. But just a caution that you need to really ensure that you check the figures. That is something that will be profitable at the end of the day. And the government regulation around mortgages has sort of made it a little bit more challenging, because gone are the days that you can buy property with zero down payment, or even just 5%. Right now, once you've done whatever percentage, 5, 10 on your primary residence, the expectation is for you to put down minimum 20% on your second property. So this is a little bit of a challenge for a lot of people, but if you can still survive that, and you have the money to put down 20% or whatever on subsequent properties, and you sure you factor in all the associated costs of selling these properties, I mean, why not? It's a good investment if you can make it happen.
Okay, so for those of you who are interested in that line of investment, you can do it if you are able to bear the risk, and if you can find a handy contractor that will be able to help you out with the renovations. That is if you're not handy on your own. So just the last question for today will be, would you, in your own professional opinion, so some people would prefer to build from scratch, and some people would prefer to buy a house that you can already move into, that's already been built. So how do you, which versus which? What do you
Obviously, building from scratch, custom built homes tend to be cheaper on the long run, provided again you know your facts. And if you're not a contractor, if you're not a builder, and you're choosing to work with a professional, again, just be aware of the potential risk. I do know in this place, working with a contractor can range from very low to very high, and so also their costs or their fees. So you really want to be very comfortable, and of course, whatever you're building has to comply and conform with government regulations. So make sure that these contractors are knowledgeable enough, they're professionals, and they're going to build according to code. So you don't want to really, start off a project and down the road you're frustrated because, things are not pulling through. But if you're comfortable and you know your fact and you know yourself, by all means, why not? And as well, again, be ready for maybe last minute glitches. They might tell you you're going to close in January, and there might be some delay. You're not able to close until 2-3 months, and if you have to sell your property in anticipation of that, just factor in all of these. Just like everything else, really. So if you're comfortable and you think it's something you can facilitate, by all means. And of course, it's gonna you need the time, right, to work with them and supervise. And again, if you have the time, the knowledge base, by all means. But if you do not, the option is for you to buy a resale home. So you walk into this property, you assess it, you consider the layout, you already see what you're buying, and if it suits your criteria, then that to me, I think is less risky. But again, it's completely up to you and what you're comfortable with.
To each his own, right?
Right.
So as you can see, she's an expert in her field. If you would like to reach her, we have her email and her phone number written on your screen right now. So don't hesitate to give her a call or to send her an email, and she'll be sure to reply you immediately. I can assure you, I am recommending her right now that if you want to buy a property in the GTA or anywhere in Canada, or if you want to sell, she's the person to speak with. So Mrs. Yemi Aladesua is with, she's a representative with Zavik Realty Limited, and they have offices virtually everywhere in the GTA. But do give her a call or send her an email, and she'll be able to respond to your inquiry as soon as possible. So it was nice speaking with you today. Thank you so much for taking out the time to speak with us today. We've really learned a lot.
Thank you very much, viewers. And like she said, I'll be looking forward to your phone call and to your email, whether you're selling, you're buying. And if you do have a referrer, I value those as well. So I'll be looking forward to working with you.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, I remain your girl, Onem. Talk to you soon. Bye now.